Field Report of Battle Chief Toran, 37th Armored Division Rexley Expansion Forces Galax Prime Campaign. Final transmission. The acid rain had finally stopped, leaving the battlefield slick with chemical runoff that steamed against the hulls of our war machines. I adjusted my stance, all four legs splayed for stability on the muddy ground as I surveyed our forward position from atop my command tank. My skin prickled beneath my armor as droplets of the caustic atmosphere found their way through the minor gaps, an uncomfortable reminder that Galax Prime was never meant for Vraxley biology. Status report, I commanded, my secondary arms adjusting the tactical display while my primary arms maintained a firm grip on the tank's outer rail. Sub-Chief Vanaz's voice crackled through my helmet comm. All forward elements in position, Battle Chief. The human defenders continue to fall back toward their central highlands. Their armor capabilities are at approximately 30% of initial strength. Air support is minimal and scattered. I allowed myself a rare moment of satisfaction, my four eyes scanning the horizon where human defensive positions burned. The 37th had performed admirably in this campaign. 3 standard weeks of fighting, and we had pushed the colonists back across 2 continents. The glory would reflect well on all of us, particularly on my broodmate and our 8 offspring back in the home system. Excellent. Maintain pressure on their eastern flank. Force them to commit their reserves. I shifted my weight, bones creaking slightly beneath my blue-tinged skin. 20 cycles of military service had taken their toll, but I still stood taller than most Vrexley warriors. The Grand Warking believes total victory is merely days away. Yes, Battle Chief. There is one anomaly to report, however. I tensed instinctively. Explain. Our long-range sensors detected unusual energy signatures behind the human lines approximately 20 minutes ago. The pattern doesn't match any known human weapon systems in our database. Had I possessed more flexible facial features, I might have frowned. Instead, my eyes narrowed slightly, outer lids contracting. Forward the data to my command display. The holographic projection before me shifted, displaying energy readings that indeed looked unusual. Quantum fluctuations that shouldn't be possible with human technology, energy signatures that seemed to flicker in and out of our detection spectrum. Analysis, I demanded. Unknown Battle Chief. Science Division suggests it may be experimental technology. Threat assessment is inconclusive. I clicked my jaw in irritation. Inconclusive data was worse than bad data. Alert all forward units to maintain sensor vigilance. I want immediate reports of any... The sky changed. That's the only way I can describe it. One moment the crimson clouds of Galax Prime swirled overhead in their usual patterns. The next, ripples of blue energy spread across the atmosphere like concentric rings in a disturbed pond. Every electronic system in our forward division flickered simultaneously. "Report!" I barked as my command tank systems reset themselves. "Orbital incursion," Vanath responded, his voice tight with confusion. "Human vassals have appeared in high orbit. They've already neutralized Defense Battery 7. "Impossible," I muttered. "No human ship could penetrate our orbital screen without detection." But even as I spoke, new alerts flashed across my tactical display. The unknown energy signatures behind enemy lines were intensifying, and now similar readings were appearing in orbit. Through my command tank's enhanced optical systems, I could actually see strange patterns of blue fire dancing across the upper atmosphere. "Battle Chief," my communications officer called. "We're receiving a general broadcast on all frequencies. It appears to be directed at all Vraxley forces." "Put it through." The voice that emerged from my comm system was unlike any human military commander I'd encountered before. It carried a strange, elongated speech pattern that our translation matrix struggled to properly convert. "Attention all Vraxley forces. This is Colonel Jebediah Walker of the Lone Star Battalion. Y'all have exactly 1 hour to pack up and leave this planet before things get mighty unpleasant." My 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of disbelief among my kind. Is this some kind of psychological warfare? Identify the source. Source confirmed as one of the new vessels in orbit, my tactical officer reported. Signal strength is unusual. It's somehow cutting through all our encryption and jamming systems. I was about to dismiss this as a desperate human ploy when a new signal came from High Command. Grand Working Ultgarn himself was addressing all battle leaders. All forward elements be advised, new human combatants have entered the battle space. Designation, Texas Knights. Exercise extreme caution. These are not conventional human forces. Repeat, these are not conventional forces. Before I could process this unusual warning from our Supreme Commander, my sensor officer called out, "Battle Chief, energy spike directly ahead of our position. Something is..." The horizon ignited. Where moments before there had been only retreating human forces, now a line of blue fire stretched across our entire front. Through my optical enhancers, I could make out human figures, but unlike any human soldiers we had faced thus far, they wore distinctive armor that seemed to blend archaic design elements with advanced technology, and each wore some kind of head covering that should have been impractical in combat, but somehow remained perfectly positioned. "Magnify," I ordered, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. The image zoomed in on the closest figure. A human male, standing tall despite being half the height of a rexley warrior. The strange head covering. My tactical system identified it as a Stetson, shadowed eyes that somehow seemed to look directly at me across 2 kilometers of battlefield. But it was the weapon in his hands that truly captured my attention. It resembled the projectile weapons from humanity's ancient history, long-barreled with wooden components that should have been hopelessly obsolete. Yet it hummed with energy readings that made no sense. Blue fire crawling along its length like living lightning. "What is that?" I whispered. "Battle Chief, they're charging," my sensor officer shouted, disbelief evident in his voice. Indeed, the line of strangely emipped humans had begun moving toward our position. Not in combat vehicles, not with supporting fire, just running, those archaic-looking weapons held before them. It was tactically absurd. Our forward line included over 200 armored vehicles and 5,000 infantry troops. "Engage all weapon systems," I ordered, pushing aside my confusion. Whatever strange equipment these humans possessed, they could not hope to survive a coordinated barrage from an entire Rexley armored division. "Full spectrum fire! All units!" The battlefield erupted as every Rexley weapon opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic projectiles arced toward the charging humans. It should have been a massacre. Instead, it became a revelation. The humans moved like nothing I had ever witnessed in 20 cycles of warfare. Their strange footwear, my system identified them as spurs, left trails of blue energy in their wake as they dodged between incoming fire with impossible speed and precision. Those that couldn't dodge simply raised their antiquated-looking rifles, somehow deflecting energy beams that should have vaporized them instantly. "Impossible!" I breathed, echoing the sentiment rapidly spreading through all command channels. The Texas Knights closed the distance to our forward line in seconds rather than minutes. When they reached our first rank of armored vehicles, the true nightmare began. A knight leaped, actually leaped, onto the hull of our lead tank. The spurs on his boots flared with blue fire where they contacted the armor plating, somehow disrupting the vehicle's energy shielding. Then he raised his rifle and fired a single shot into the tank's command hatch. I watched in horror as the antiquated-looking weapon discharged not a primitive projectile, but a concentrated beam of plasma energy more powerful than anything in our arsenal. The tank, designed to withstand direct hits from our most advanced weaponry, simply disintegrated. Similar scenes unfolded across our entire line. Knights moved between our formations with impossible grace, those blue fire spurs and plasma rifles turning our technological superiority into scrap metal. Our troops, the pride of the Rexley military, were being systematically dismantled by humans wielding what appeared to be ancient technology infused with quantum physics we couldn't understand. "Battle Chief, we're receiving reports of system failures across all divisions," my communications officer shouted. "Our targeting systems can't lock onto these humans. It's like they're quantum shifting between positions." I gripped the command rail tighter, my forelegs shifting uneasily. "Order all units to switch to manual targeting. Disengage automatics." "Yes, Battle Chief, but look out," my guard shouted, just as a flash of blue light materialized directly in front of my command tank. A single human figure stood there, Stetson tilted at a jaunty angle, boots trailing quantum fire. In his hands was one of those impossible rifles, wood stock polished to a shine that reflected the blue energy crawling along its barrel. "Howdy," the human said, the translation coming through my comm system with that same strange drawl. "Mind if we have a word about your current occupation of this here planet?" I drew my ceremonial blade, a foolish gesture perhaps, but I was a Rexley warrior and would face death with dignity. "I am Battle Chief Toran of the 37th Armored Division. I do not surrender." The human nodded as if expecting this response. "Appreciate the honesty, partner. Name's Lieutenant Cooper Davis, Texas Knights, 2nd Cavalier Regiment." He gestured with his rifle toward the chaos unfolding across what had been our unbreakable line. "As you can see, we've got a bit of a disagreement about who this planet belongs to." "Your weapons," I found myself saying, professional curiosity momentarily overriding my combat instincts. "They appear primitive, yet they function beyond our understanding." The human Davis actually chuckled. "There's the thing about Texas technology. It ain't about how fancy it looks. It's about what's under the hood, so to speak." He patted the wooden stock of his rifle almost affectionately. "This Winchester's been in my family for 5 generations. Each knight adds something new to their weapon's quantum matrix with each battle. Wood remembers, you see, holds the patterns better than any artificial material." That's impossible," I said, though the evidence of its possibility was destroying my division before my eyes. "A lot of folks have said that about Texas," Davis replied with a shrug, "usually right before they find out different. Around us, the battle, if it could still be called that, continued. My warriors fought bravely, but they might as well have been fighting ghosts. The knights moved with that impossible speed, their antiquated weapons delivering devastation with every shot. Your commander's been given the same offer as I'm about to give you," Davis continued, his rifle never wavering from its position aimed at my center mass. "Pack up and go home. This planet ain't yours to take." My 4 eyes narrowed. "And if we refuse?" The human's expression shifted slightly, becoming almost sad. "Then I reckon we'll have to show you why folks throughout the galaxy are starting to learn what 'Remember the Alamo' really means." As if on cue, several knights nearby raised their voices in that battle cry I had already come to dread. "Remember the Alamo!" The words were followed by a coordinated series of shots that reduced an entire squadron of our most advanced hover tanks to molecularly scrambled debris. My tactical display was a sea of red alerts. 70% of our forward elements were already disabled or destroyed. The knights moved through our formations like avenging spirits, those wooden-stocked plasma rifles delivering precise destruction with every shot. In that moment, I made a decision that would have been unthinkable mere hours before. "Lower weapons," I commanded over the general frequency. "All units cease fire and power down systems." Davis nodded, though his rifle remained steady. "Wise choice, Battle Chief. Your troops get to live another day." "Our grand warking," I began, trying to maintain some dignity in defeat. "Will he?" "He's been given the same choice," Davis replied. "Seems like a smart fellow. I reckon he'll make the right call." A new transmission cut through all channels. The voice of Grand Warking Ulgarn himself. All rexley forces execute immediate tactical withdrawal. I repeat, immediate tactical withdrawal to fallback positions. This is not a defeat. This is a strategic realignment. I felt a complex mixture of relief and shame wash through me. Relief that my remaining troops would survive. Shame that the mighty Rexley expansion forces were retreating before what appeared to be a small specialized unit of humans with inexplicable technology. "You see," Davis said, finally lowering his rifle slightly, "nobody needs to die today. Y'all just need to find somewhere else to expand to. Somewhere that ain't protected by Texas." I should have accepted the mercy being offered. I should have ordered an orderly withdrawal as commanded. But 20 cycles of military glory and the bone-deep pride of the Rexley warrior caste would not allow me to simply walk away from this humiliation. "Your technology," I said, my primary hand drifting subtly toward the emergency weapon built into my command armor. "It makes no sense. Wooden rifles delivering plasma energy, boots that disrupt quantum shielding. It violates every principle of physics." Davis shrugged. "That's the thing about Texas ingenuity. It ain't confined by what other folks think is possible." His eyes narrowed slightly. "I'm going to ask you to keep your hands where I can see them, Battle Chief. My grandpappy's rifle here might look old-fashioned, but it's got enough quantum-encoded battle experience to know when someone's fixing to do something foolish." I hesitated, forelegs tensing beneath me. Around us, my troops were already beginning their withdrawal, leaving behind more destroyed equipment than I had lost in all my previous campaigns combined. The rational part of my mind screamed to follow orders, to live and fight another day. But the warrior in me, the Rexley battle chief who had never known defeat, made one final fatal calculation. My hand closed on the emergency weapon. Davis sighed, a sound that somehow carried both regret and certainty. "Stubborn as a Texas mule," he murmured, words my translation matrix struggled to interpret. I raised the weapon, a last-generation plasma emitter powerful enough to vaporize a small vehicle. Fast as I was, the human was faster. His antiquated rifle swung up, blue energy coalescing along its barrel in patterns that hurt my eyes to look at directly. "Remember the Alamo," he said quietly. The rifle discharged a single shot. The plasma bolt that emerged carried impossible harmonics, energy patterns my armor's sensors couldn't even classify before they were overloaded. I felt the impact not just on my physical form, but somehow deeper, as if the very quantum structure of my being was being rewritten by energy encoded with generations of human determination. As darkness closed around me, my fading consciousness registered one final observation. The human's strange headgear, his Stetson, remained perfectly in place despite the quantum disruption of his weapon's discharge. How, I wondered as the world disappeared, does the hat stay on? Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave it a like and to subscribe if you'd like to see more. Feel free to comment and share it as well. With all that said, go on and check out the video in the top left. I think you might like it.